Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Story. In today's main story in the update, there is mention of assault, so if that is a topic that's uncomfortable for you, you might want to skip the story. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole here, and it's by user Throwaway in 12312. Am I the a-hole here for wanting to keep my inheritance I may receive from my mom's college friend? I, 30 male, have had the weirdest couple of months of my life. My mom's 61 female friend, Gary, 60-ish male, recently passed away, and to my surprise, he left all his property in my name in his will. For context, I am married to Hannah, 28 female, and we have a 2-year-old toddler. We are not wealthy, but both Hannah and I have good jobs and working towards building a good life for us and our kid. About 2 months ago, an estate attorney sent a letter to our house stating that Gary had passed away and I was named in his will. This came as a shock as we had not seen Gary and his family for years. The only memory I have of Gary was from when I was a kid. His son Jason, late 20s, and I were friends, and our families were pretty close. Gary and my mom were college friends, and they would come to our house for dinners and parties. Jason and I were of similar age, and I remember Jason following me around the house and us playing video games in my room while the grown-ups had fun downstairs. When I was around 10, they moved out of our town, and I never saw them again. This is the first time in years I have thought about Gary or Jason. I initially thought the letter was a scam letter, but after reading Gary's name on the letter, I called my mom to ask if he was the same Gary who was her friend. She confirmed that the name was the same. I decided to schedule a Zoom call with the estate attorney. The estate attorney, who is also the executor of the will, told us that Gary named me in his will and left me his house, close to $1.5 million in value and around $800,000 in other assets. This was a shock as I have no relation to him and there is no reason why he would even remember me. The executor mentioned that Jason wanted to get in touch with me and asked if I could provide my contact information to him. I, of course, agreed as I wanted to understand what was going on. I talked to Jason via Zoom call. Jason and his wife joined the call and I asked him about Gary and what was going on. Jason told me that Gary and his mom divorced right around the time they moved out of our town. His mother got the primary custody and he used to spend weekends at Gary's place. However, after a year or so, Gary started slowly pulling out of his life and met him maybe a few times every year. Gary then moved to a different town and they had very limited contact except for holiday greetings and a few phone calls every year. Jason mentioned that Gary lived alone and did not marry again. Jason is his only living next of kin. Jason's mom has already passed away. Jason only came to know about Gary's death via the estate attorney's letter. The estate attorney told Jason that Gary had left $100,000 for Jason in his inheritance. Jason asked him what he did with the rest of his estate, and the attorney told him that I was named as the beneficiary. Jason asked me if I had been in touch with Gary over the last few years, and I told him no. Jason asked me if there was any reason why I would be listed as a beneficiary, and I told him that I was not aware of any. My head was spinning, and I thought that maybe I was related to Gary in some way, like he secretly is my bio dad or a sperm donor. I talked to my mom about it and she told me that I am in no way related to Gary. I asked her why he would leave me his inheritance and my mom said she could not think of a reason why. She said that she never dated Gary and they were just good friends from college. She insisted that my dad was my real dad. My dad passed away 3 years ago, hence I cannot do a paternity test. The money is life-changing for me. It'll give my family a head start on so many things we want to do. I know Jason plans to challenge the will, and it makes no sense why it should go to me and not his biological son. My mom also feels that I shouldn't accept it as we had nothing to do with Gary for the last 20 years, and it has to be a mistake why he left me the money. My wife and I, however, want to claim it as we are the real beneficiaries. We got in touch with the estate attorney and he said that the will has not changed for several years and he was one of the witnesses when he added my name. It was not a mistake, but he also does not know why Gary chose to name me. Am I the a-hole to claim those $2 million in estate from Gary when I hardly knew him? More importantly, is there a way to check if he was my real dad, as he has passed away and my dad is also not around anymore? I am not able to understand why he would give me all the money. Well, OP, off the bat, no, I wouldn't think you're the a-hole for claiming that money. I mean, if Gary left it to you, he left it to you. Regardless of whatever reasons he had to do that, he left that to you. So I really don't understand why Jason is going to challenge the will, considering the state attorney, who is the executioner of the will, was a witness while Gary put your name there. Legally, I don't think there's anything that can be done to change that. Now, with the information that you've given us, it does sound like maybe Gary was your bio dad, or he found out that Jason isn't his bio son and this is a way for him to get back at the mom or something like that, even though he is still leaving him something. Now, I see there's two ways that you could try to prove your heritage. One would be to get a DNA test along with Jason to see if you guys share any genes, or if you've got uncles from your dad's side, maybe they could help as well. Other than that, no, I still don't think you'd be the a-hole if you took the money. What do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do and what is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Crystal Queen 3000 says, not the a-hole, but I can understand why his son would try to challenge it. Maybe Gary didn't like his son for some reason and wanted to screw him over in some way, or maybe you meant more to him than you thought you did. Unless he also left you a letter explaining why, it's unlikely that you'll ever know. You could ask Jason if he'd be willing to do a sibling DNA test with you to see if there's a match. Kind Dust 7441 says, not the a-hole. From what you've written, you only have Jason's version of the story of why he and Gary were no longer close. Maybe it was Jason who distanced himself from his father. Maybe Gary tried to reconcile with his son, but Jason ignored every overture Gary made. Maybe Jason isn't Gary's son at all. In this case, a sibling DNA test won't clear up any questions about your paternity. You'll never know the reason, but clearly, Gary wanted you to inherit his house and fortune. Honor his wishes and enjoy your life. Forget Regret One Day says, it was Gary's will, Gary's estate, and Gary's choice to will his possessions as he saw fit. I don't know if you'll ever know his reasoning, but if the will is valid and properly executed, there's no reason it won't stand as written. Gary's son admits he had very little contact with his father for years, and there may be a valid reason why he chose to distribute his estate the way he did. It's difficult to contest unless coercion or mental unfitness can be proved, since he did leave something to his son. You need your own attorney to guide you through this. Your mother's opinion is irrelevant, just as anyone here telling you what you should do is. As you said, this is a life-changing situation. I would suggest doing some research on your parentage regardless of what your mother said. Even with your dad's passing, it's possible to prove a negative by blood typing, etc., as well as a DNA test with Gary's son. You have some big decisions ahead of you, but keep Gary's wishes in mind. There is a reason why he left you his assets. You just don't know it yet. Don't be pushed to be fair to anyone but yourself. Hire an estate attorney as soon as possible. Alright, well, the community judged OP to not be the a-hole, and they're giving him some ideas as to how he can prove his parentage and what he should do legally regarding the money. Now, unfortunately, OP did not reply to any comments or give us any edits, so we have no additional context, which means we move on straight to the update. But before that, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to please leave a like and a comment, because that always helps, and subscribe if you haven't become a part of our community yet. Now, let's move on with the update. I-30 Male wrote a few weeks ago about one of my mother's old friends, Gary, shockingly leaving me $2.5 million in his will while only leaving $100,000 to his son Jason. I was debating on posting the update for the last week, but you guys helped me a lot to think through the issue, and hence I wanted to write about why Gary did what he did. I just want to warn everyone that the actual reason is horrible, and I don't mean to trigger anyone. Most of the comments focused on getting a paternity test, and my mind also raced in the same direction when I heard the news. I talked to my mom about it, and she told me that I should not do any such thing and that it was insulting to her that I could accuse her of something so horrible. I asked her again and again if she could think of a reason why Gary, who had not talked to me for almost 20 years, would leave me millions of dollars, and she just refused to say anything. I was not going to ask Jason for a sibling DNA test since he does not owe me anything. He had told me that he plans to challenge the will and cut contact with me. Since my dad passed away 3 years ago, I was not sure how to get a paternity test, and some of the commenters suggested that I should test someone from my dad's side and see if I share any DNA with them. Since my dad's older brother also passed away, I decided to ask my cousin, his son, to help me with a DNA test. Over the weekend, when my mom was visiting our house, I told her about my plan. She was extremely angry at me and asked me why I would think of telling our family that I have doubts about my father being my real father. I told her that I had to know what was going on and it was killing me from the inside to know why Gary would leave me so much money. We got into a big argument. My wife tried to calm us down, but in the end, my mom just broke down. She just started sobbing uncontrollably, and my wife signaled me to shut up and leave the house. I went for a walk to calm down, and when I came back, my mom was sitting on the couch looking just broken. My wife told me to come and sit next to them. My mom told me the truth of what had happened. Gary and my mom grew up together in the same town and went to the same high school and college. They were best friends, but my mom was never interested in Gary romantically. After my mom married my dad, Gary and his wife also moved to the same town as them. They again reconnected, and Gary and my dad also became good friends. Since Jason and I were also of similar age, both the families bonded due to that. That is why I remember Jason would always be at all my birthdays and other parties since I was a kid. However, when I was around 9 years old, Gary came to our house to pick something up. My dad was not there at the house. He tried to make a pass at my mom, and they got into an argument. Gary started becoming more physical and tried to sexually assault my mom. My mom kicked him and was able to run away and lock herself in the room. When she told my dad went and beat Gary up. Gary never filed assault charges because he knew my mom would file sexual assault charges against him. My mom also did not file sexual assault charges, but I have never seen Gary's face again since that day. After a few months, they got the news that Gary and his family moved to a different town. I believe that is when Gary and his wife also got divorced. Over the years, my mom never heard from Gary, and he was just a faint childhood memory for me. My mom was horrified when she learned that Gary left all of his estate to me. She wanted to tell me not to take the money from him, but my parents had decided never to tell me about the incident. I was the biggest a-hole and the worst son. The stupid money made me doubt my mom and question her integrity. I can't believe what she must have felt when I kept on talking about paternity tests and trying to get my dad's side of the family involved. Gary giving me all of his estate was just his way of forgiving himself for the horrible thing that he did. However, I was not going to give him that satisfaction. I decided to disclaim the inheritance. I do not want a single penny from that effer, and I hope he rots in hell. Opie's edit. I know a lot of you feel $2.5 million is a lot of money. For context, my parents, mom, are also wealthy and I am their only son. Also, I value my relationship with my mom and do not owe anything to Gary. If he was my father, he should have written that in his will and not put my mom through the horror of explaining the situation to me. My wife and I also live comfortably, and it was our joint decision. I have already decided to disclaim the inheritance and will not be taking the paternity test or looking into this issue further. Wow. Okay, OP. Yeah, sure. In hindsight, you did behave like an a-hole, although you didn't know. But the a-hole and the scum in this whole story is Gary. That was a horrible twist that I was not expecting, and I'm so sad that your mom had to go through that. And of course it doesn't make it better, but it's a good thing that your dad gave Gary what he should have gotten. And I agree with your decision regarding the inheritance. Gary shouldn't get this satisfaction. Good for you, OP. On that note, here's wishing you and your family the best in the future. Thank you so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Pro Revenge, and it's by user A Quiet Borderline. Operation Let It Go. Uncle Dave was a senior engineer at a small firm in the Midwestern USA and an engineer instructor at the local community college. He was also unofficially in charge of the office parties. To help offset the costs, he had a small tin box on the table outside of his office with a slot in it so anyone could donate money to the party fund. Everyone knew about it and was happy to donate. A month or so before the company's big Christmas party, Uncle Dale decided to check the box, and lo and behold, it was empty. Uncle Dale knew something was wrong because he had seen several colleagues putting money in the box. This could only mean one thing: someone was stealing from the party fund. At this moment, Brad, the owner's nephew and a fellow engineer, came around the corner, and something about the way Brad was looking at him made Uncle Dale suspicious. Brad didn't have a good reputation around the office, to say the least. He had a reputation for being pushy, obnoxious, rude, and just plain entitled. Unfortunately, he was not only the owner's beloved nephew, but knew how to skirt the rules so that he wouldn't get fired. Uncle Dale decided to set a trap to catch the thief. Using his engineering skills, he set up a hidden rig using a hidden doorbell camera right by the box. He then had a colleague loudly brag about how he contributed $100 to the party fund. Then he waited. He got a notification that the camera was recording and watched Brad open the empty box, scowl in disgust, and throw the box against the wall. Now, you'd think this would be the end, with Uncle Dale presenting the video evidence to his boss to get Brad fired. But oh no. Now, if there's one thing engineers love, it's solving problems. And if it's engineering students, they'll make it an experience to remember. Uncle Dale went to his engineering students. He offered them extra credit to come up with a rigged box that would make noise when opened. The more obnoxious the sound, the higher the bonus. 1 week later, they delivered their project and demonstrated how it worked. Pleased with the results, Uncle Dale awarded them the extra credit as promised. The next day, he set up the rigged box and proclaimed, "Well, isn't this nice? Someone donated $50 to the party fund." Then he went to his office and waited. The engineering students had rigged the box with one of those inserts from cards that played music when you opened them. By popular vote, they had picked Let It Go from the Disney movie Frozen, right around the time the song was beginning to become unpopular. They also managed to ensure that once opened, the box could not close unless you pressed a hidden side button, releasing the hinge. So, the song would continue to play. For extra funnies, they made sure to angle the insert for maximum volume and secured it down with industrial strength glue. For sure, everyone in the office heard Idina Menzel belting that hated song and Brad's frustrated grunts while trying to close the box. One of those attracted by the sound was Brad's uncle. Finally, Brad chucked the box at the wall, managing to put a good-sized dent in it. The uncle then summoned Brad to his office. 15 minutes later, Brad left with a cardboard box and cleared out his desk, along with a note in his file: "Do not rehired, do not recommend." So his engineering career was over. That Christmas, Uncle Dale had a little video prepared to show at the party. The doorbell camera had caught Brad's attempts to steal from the box, all to the tune of Let It Go. Fantastic. Don't you just love engineering creativity? That was beautiful. Thank you so much, OP. I guess Brad was let go. I'm sorry for the bad dad joke, but I just had to do it. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.